Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. Today's movie will be recapping on The Feast of Legend, one of Jet Li's best movies ever. Full of action, full of a lot of intrigue and a lot of suspense. Once again, you're welcome to our channel. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do help us subscribe so as to help us keep good content like this coming your way. So let's just go into the movie properly and watch all the actions and all the fights, enough martial art fights and all of that. Okay, so let's go in. This movie was cast in the 30s when China, Republic of China, and the Empire of Japan were having a tussle in Shanghai. Over certain resources on those locations. So it sets off in with Jet Li in class, and he's been he was sent away to go to school from his master. He was sent to go to school by his master, and learn something new. And just before we knew it, the coalition team from the Japanese end came into their classroom and started to disrupt activities in the class, and also wanted to, you know, they were more like racists, saying that the Chinese person should leave, which was Jet Li at this point. And but before you knew it, the professor also came in to intervene, and of course, they didn't listen to him, and they went ahead to disrupt the class and started to intimidate other class members. And just as Jet Li's girlfriend, I would call her that, came in to intercede, they almost wanted to hit her when Jet Li came in, and eventually they got into a fight. A fight ensued, and got into a fight. Jet Li, his name here is Cheng. Cheng being a very good fighter, handled all of them, and was able to stop them from disrupting their class, and also um, sending him out of Japan at this point. So Jet Li's girlfriend Nimiko, um, uncle, is also part of the school in Japan, and he came in and he stopped the fight, and also got his guys, addressed his guys on what they were doing that was wrong, and also apologized to the professor. And then he went ahead to inquire more about Cheng and where he's from, and from which house he's from in China. And Cheng responded by telling him who his master was, and that but he went ahead to give Cheng the bad news that his master was just killed by some Japanese soldiers. Cheng got very upset and ran out, and afterwards left for Shanghai.
While on the trip, he read through a local Japanese newspaper and also saw the news that his master had been killed.
On arriving in Shanghai, he got to his school where he apparently had trained in martial arts, and he went in to pay his last respect to his master. And of course, there he got a bit emotional, where he now wanted to um, actually test out who this person was. This person has that has killed his master, that was able to defeat his master in combat. He wanted to really test out this person, and he went to the Japanese school. In this scene, we see Chang walking to the Japanese school where his master was supposedly killed, and of course, he had some of the students go against him and try to stop him, asking him to leave. And of course, just you see how confident he is, in talking to them and responding to their questions and requesting to see their master. And while he tried to hit him, he defended himself and eventually started to beat the crap out of all of them, you know, showing his skills and really, defending himself and, ensuring that no harm comes to him, while also asking to see their master comes out. The fight goes on until, eventually, um, the man still goes on, while he's still trying to defend himself. So in this scene, you see the master working out to see who was disrupting his class, and eventually they set up a challenge and also had an agreement that whoever falls would not avenge the other. And then after, the fight between them um, started. So the fight started, and Cheng displayed his skills once again and was able to really test out, the skills of this so-called master that had killed his boss, that has killed his master, and he really gave him a good fight and ensured that he tested him out properly and made a fool out of him, and he was able to beat him so easily without stress. He beat him up very well, no stress at all. So you go ahead and just keep watch the fight. And then he shook his head, knowing that this guy is not even up to one quarter of what his boss could have done. And there he knew something was wrong. And he told him there and then that he would have beaten him had it been he was well. And thereafter he left. This is General Mekusa coming off the horse, one of the most ruthless fighters in the Japanese Empire. Here, actually getting to the scene after where Cheng had beaten up the Japanese master and looked so very, very fierce at Cheng, but nothing was said to him. But other than he wanted people to just leave the road and he goes in. But this scene starts off with Cheng having assumed the body of his boss, his master, and to check for possible poisoning of his master. We had the doctor there who was supposed to do the check, um but upon opening his tools and everything, he couldn't really um do the check. So Cheng came in and took the instrument from him and and wanted to start um opening up his boss to bring out the liver, at least for them to test for poisoning, when the family members came in and stopped him from doing so. But Cheng insisted that he had to do this in order for him to find out what really happened to his boss, and to be sure that that his boss was not poisoned before he went into that fight with the Japanese boss that he just easily beat up. Because if he had beaten up that the Japanese boss so easily, his master too would have done the same. And he went ahead to extract his liver and gave it to the doctor, and the doctor tested, and it was clearly ascertained that he was poisoned. In this scene, there was slight commotion or confusion on who might have poisoned their master, because it was understood that their master never left the school even for a month before that fight. So he couldn't have had any external poisoning in his food, other than he was poisoned internally. So arguments went here and there, questions were asked within themselves in the school, and even the cook himself came forward to start uh, um, um, he came forward to start speaking about it, and was accusing the head of the family that he was being accused illegally, unnecessarily, because he's the one that makes all the food. Anyway, the argument went on like that, but they all had to somehow come to a compromise to understand that none of them actually um, poisoned the food. Maybe somehow the poison got into his food through other means, but they could not really tell how exactly. However, they went on to enjoy the meal, and continued with having a nice time as a family then after. But since they knew they couldn't tell her exactly, well, Cheng went ahead to enjoy the meal, and everybody also um, joined in. I mean, if they had gotten poisoned from the cook, then by now they all would have been dead, really. So they went ahead to um, enjoy the meal. In this scene, Cheng was actually, training and also, teaching his students, his skills and his secrets on how he fights, and how his fighting style and all of that. And this started to make people even wanted to join the school, given the fact that they believe that Cheng was a very good fighter. And that started to make the uncle a bit jealous of the fact that Cheng is coming in to take away the rights of the other master, which is this which other master. Even himself was a bit looking like he was jealous, seeing that lots of the students were interacting with him and wanting to learn from him. And Cheng himself was really ready to, showcase his skills. And they were all thrilled and amazed and looking like, where did this guy come from? I mean, this guy is just so good. In this scene, we see the Japanese master, who was defeated by Cheng, coming in to meet the general and to accuse the general that he found out that the grandmaster that he had allegedly killed was poisoned, and that he is a man of honor, and that he doesn't normally do things that way, and he accused the general of all sorts, and the general went ahead to kill him for insolence and for not standing by the code of what they had discussed and agreed on. Now, the students, having found out that their master had been killed, but not knowing who killed their master, they thought it was Cheng that killed their master, came over to Cheng's school for revenge, and also demanded that they want him to take him away. Of course, the school and Cheng's more like his brother, you know, but happens to be the son of his master, resisted them and told them they couldn't have Cheng, and as a result, a fight basically broke, between the Japanese students and the Chinese students in the Chinese school. And Cheng's, more like his half brother, was there being the new master, following the fact that his father had been killed, he's dead, rebuffed them and was trying to defend their school. So you just go ahead and watch the fight. They even tried to desecrate the shrine, but some of the students tried as much as possible to protect the shrine by all means. Police eventually came in and they were able to stop the fight eventually. So when Cheng came in, the students from Japanese school attempted to grab him, but the police stopped them from taking him away. But they still went ahead to arrest Cheng for the killing of their master, but without knowing that he wasn't the one that killed him, but eventually took him away. In this scene, we see Cheng in court, being held for the killing of the Japanese master, and the court was about to proceed over the case, and after much deliberations and all of that, just like that, Cheng was eventually released as a result of the testimony that his girlfriend Michiko from the beginning of the movie came in as a Japanese person to girls make a testimony had gone to report to the police. Cheng and was eventually just went on to protect themselves. The case basically was, whilst the police were on their way, declared null and void, and was eventually dismissed after all the witnesses could not make a very substantiating story, behind the fact that they had seen him kill the Japanese boss, the Japanese master. In this scene, we see Mitiko coming to testify, as earlier said, and this is her, giving her testimony, about giving her own account of what happened and where he was, even though she had to lie that um, they were both together in a hotel just to give him an alibi, which was what necessitated that the judge closed the case and Cheng was released. Okay, in this scene, after the court proceeding and Cheng was freed, he brought Mitiko home, who is Japanese, and of course, because of the conflict between Japan and China at that time, there were a lot of hatred between the two countries, and as a result, they wouldn't allow Cheng stay in the same home with his Japanese girlfriend, and he said he's not going to live without her. The family didn't want him to stay with her. They had to make him make a choice, either to stay or to go with her. And of course, he um, decided to go with her, but not just before his master's son, who had been jealous of his fighting skills and how the students have started to endear themselves towards him, now wanted to challenge him, because to him he felt that the only way he could be of relevance to his students was that if he challenged Cheng to the master, to who become the master of the school. And they went ahead to set a challenge between each other. Cheng didn't want to challenge him at first. Cheng didn't want to get involved in the fight, but to him, to the master's son, he felt that's the only way he could prove himself to his students and retain his title as the new master of the school. In this scene, we see the master's son and Cheng about to go into a fight for the to show who will become the master of the school, and the fight goes off as it is, and so let's me just allow you watch the fight. Yet again, Cheng still exhibits his confidence and his skill as one of the best fighter of the school. Didn't want to hit him. He was still trying to play his cool, but eventually knew that he had to show him a bit of what he is made of.
Hey, come on!
So the fight goes on, and So right here, Cheng just believes that he had to show him a bit of what he's made of, and that goes the cake. The guy was a bit surprised that he could kick him or he could fight back, and they started off, and he had to show him a bit of what he is, of course, defending himself while doing so. I mean, this is a very lovely movie. Storyline is beautiful. Has to do a lot about courage. Has to do a lot about principle and self will to achieve um, whatever anybody wants to achieve. Really, even with the beatings, he still thinks he can stand up to Cheng, but he's really taking a pounding and eventually succumbs to the beating. And here, after the whole fight, Cheng decided to leave with Mitiko. For him, that is a better decision than taking over the school. He pays his last respect to his master once again, and then leaves. When they got to this hotel where they could stay, Cheng asked Mitiko to wait outside, and he went in to secure a room for them. Now, after he had secured the room, I asked Mitiko to come in, but of course, the same challenge issues, around the Chinese and Japanese conflict at that time wouldn't allow the hotel to allow a Japanese woman to stay there. They even started to refer to Cheng as a traitor and started to throw things at him. And eventually, the hotel manager asked them to leave. That he couldn't allow them stay because he was with a Japanese girl. So they've got somewhere where they could stay, and this was where they could just stay and be together. This scene, the students are talking about everything that's happened in school and how it are beginning to affect their lives. Just when they were discussing it, the students from the Japanese school came in, and they came in not for a fight, but to actually present a challenge. So there was some kind of panic, and they were a bit confused on how and what will happen next. But for them, they had no choice but to go and look for um, the son. Now the cook here was having his own moments whilst all of this was happening, while everything was looking like the whole place was coming down in shambles. And he got into a discussion with one of the students. And here the cook was seen discussing with the students on what had happened, on how they had conspired to poison the master's food, and that he wanted it to be paid his balance. And the student went ahead to give him some comforts that look, that upon when the Japanese people take over, that more money will come their way and all of that. But the cook himself has started to feel a bit remorseful of his action, and while he was feeling remorseful of his action, the student looked at the situation and felt like, this man might end up going to rat out on them, and decided to kill him. Okay, let's call Cheng's half brother Tintin here. So Tintin had been found in a brothel where he had been feeling depressed and not feeling happy about himself that he lost to Cheng in the battle for the school. So eventually he was taken home, and where he was sober and felt a bit down for his actions. And soon after, the challenge was discussed with him by their uncle, and he also agreed to fight for the school. In this scene, we see Mitiko's uncle, who has gotten information about the challenge, and knew somehow, maybe from being an older person in the experience, that Cheng will be most likely facing the general in a fight. So he came down to um, you know test him indirectly without him knowing that he was testing him, and also teach him. So they got into more like um, a fight, and he was able to test his skills and test um, and be sure that Cheng has what it took to um, fight against the general. Um, Here in this fight, a lot of skills are being displayed by both fighters. Cheng and Mitiko's uncle are great fighters and show the best of everything that they can offer, whilst also trying to teach him and give. But at this point, Cheng's on how he half brother, who was supposed to be the master of the house, right, of the school right now, so was just away. He had because he had suffered the loss from Cheng, he felt a bit depressed and left the school unguarded, and fight started. Right now they didn't have anybody to defend them in the challenge. So there was some kind of panic in the house. The fight also does a stretch so that he can be willing, he can fight him with the best of everything he has. So from my indication, you will know that this isn't much of a fight to kill. It was more like a fight to just show what you have. The man wasn't coming to, he wasn't being offensive. He was just coming to indirectly train Cheng here. It was a very, very tactical and full of all the kind of skill you can talk about, in martial art and all. So just go ahead and just enjoy the fight. Here he inquired to know what kind of style or tactics that Cheng was using. And Cheng responded with a sarcastic response where he tells him that he just needs to fight him first to know what kind of style it is. So the fight continued. Now, what did I learn from this scene? For me, it was more of um, learning the ability to be able to learn. Even though you are good at something, you are so good at it. You should always open yourself to learning because learning is just one way of building oneself. When you stop learning, you start dying. So for me, it's more about learning. Nobody's just too big to learn. You can always learn from anybody, even though no matter how good that you are at something. At a point in the fight, the uncle couldn't see very clearly because of the wind. So it looked like Cheng saw that he was having an upper hand against him because the man couldn't really see clearly. So he decided to they decided to blindfold themselves so as to make themselves even, to fight in a plain, even playing ground. Now, watch the skills being displayed, how they're able to, readapt and um, work with their senses. They couldn't really see, but they could work with their senses to still be able to, fight in a very uh, skillful way. And you cannot really take that away from a movie this fully um, with a strong fight scene as this. Um, so just let's just continue watching the fight as it goes on. Yeah. So after the fight, the uncle couldn't really help it but praise Cheng's fighting skills. Being a young man, being able to fight this good, he was quite impressed and has been able to achieve what he came to um, see or find out. He only went ahead to give him a couple of tips on how he can fight the general because the general is the most strongest fighter in the Japanese empire and one of the best way on again the best tip he can give to him is for him to be able to readapt when he's fighting general, to readapt to the general and ensure that at the end of the day, the general becomes his own weapon to himself against himself. And with that advice, he leaves. In this scene, Tintin is seen searching for Cheng and was able to find where he was living and met Mitiko at home. And just as he was trying to make himself comfortable, of course, Mitiko offered him a seat and also offered him tea, while Cheng comes in as well from he had gone somewhere before and he came back to meet both of them together. And then after Tintin and Cheng, spent some time, studying some new kung fu moves that he has learnt, and also told him about the challenge that he will be facing the following day, and showed him this new technique that he just learned, and also spoke to him about the challenge, and that just in case anything happens to him, that he should go ahead and teach the school the the technique. Now, this scene shows Tintin about leaving for the challenge at the Japanese school, and they're just having the goodbye talk with him at the entrance of their school, and he leaves. As he leaves, Chen comes right behind him and asks him if he could go with him, and he accepted, and they both left for the venue of the challenge. In this scene, Cheng and Tintin walk into the venue of and meet the general of the fight and meet the general. General was also waiting for this very epic um, um, fight, against it's more like China against Japan, and he goes ahead to chit chat because something small and calls out the person that betrayed them so as just to show them that look, somebody actually betrayed you in your clan, and it wasn't like anybody from outside gave your master the poisoning that he had in his system, and goes ahead and shoots him. Of course, he's worthless anyway, so what's he is of no significance to anybody. And then he orders his men to leave, and they all left the arena, and he tells Chang and Tintin that the sign he's holding is a sign that says their school now belongs to him. That if they can beat him, they have a chance to of breaking it. So the fight between him and Tintin now starts. Of course, like we knew before now that the general is a very skillful fighter and very very strong, and he quickly started to um, beat Tintin up very well. So Tintin wouldn't have had a chance at this fight, excuse me, if he had gone alone. The general is very strong, and his punching and kicking isn't really doing so much to um, stop the general. and he goes on and start pounding on him and kicks him into the glass. So and eventually throws the board, and Cheng jumps in and breaks the board and challenges the general thereon. So let me leave you to just watch the fight and can have some comments in the comment section about what you think and your thoughts about the fight and how it went. This movie, Feast of Legend, Cheng's an extremely super fighter, very, very skillful, and was able to hold on this general that is seen as the strongest person in Japan at the time. He was able to take him on, and they went on and on with the fight. Even though the general seemed to be having a headway against Cheng, but Cheng still put up a good challenge in against the general. So let me stop here and still watch which while you watch the fight as it goes on. Okay. For me, the takeaway in this fight is more of believing in yourself. Believe in whatever you know how to do. Just believe in yourself, and you can just be able to bring down even the most toughest challenges. You can be able to solve them without even knowing that you have the skills inside of you to solve them because you actually believed in yourself. Um, if Cheng had not believed in himself, he wouldn't have been able to last this long with the general. Because the general is a very, very skillful fighter, and but Cheng had some teaching from Mitiko's uncle, who had done like an exhibition match with him earlier, and gave him a couple of advice on how he can fight the general. And without that, he would probably have not stood a chance. But he opened himself to learning, and not just that, he believed in himself. And right here, you can see him being able to hold on to the general while the general came with everything that he had just to defeat him. Check out the resilience in Cheng. He's able to withstand the pain, withstand the torture, and still able to go forward and fight this general. One of the strongest men in Japanese empire at the time. He still went on and still stand up to him. So it still brings me back to what I was saying before. The ability to what withstand any kind of challenge that may be facing you. These are some of the things I'm learning from this. Challenge, facing challenges and be able to surmount them is key in everything that people do in life. Whatever you do in life, be able to face challenges, surmount them, and come out stronger than you will ever be. Just keep watching the fight. Watch what happens next when Tintin and Cheng were about leaving. I would believe that he had defeated the general, and the general draws a knife and came charging at them. But luckily, Tintin was able to see it on time and blocked that knife attack. And Cheng went ahead to um, continue the fight with the general. But this time I decided to use his belt as a weapon. General, being that he's weak and a bit disoriented from all the beating, was not still able to um, defeat him with a knife. He had a knife, he had a belt, and he was just still going on and giving him a beating. And eventually he was able to kill him with the belt and the knife he had. Now the general is dead. Now somebody had to be responsible for the general's death. In this scene, which Chen took. In this scene, Chen is seen in a coverted operation where he's taken out of China and exists in a new identity somewhere where he can't be traced, and that's the end of the movie. Thank you. Please subscribe to our channel for more of recap. Thank you. Of this beautiful um for more of this beautiful, for more of this kind